Right. We have guess my number with cheat, and we have the code for Ask Siri. And what I'd like to do now is put them together. So I'm going to open up the menu program that I gave you from a previous week. And let's run that, see what it looks like. You'll remember this. We have our screen and then the 3 buttons. So targeting turns the screen to blue, paddle game turns it to yellow. I think we have the ability to type in like a T, and then it says, yay, you typed in text, and it tells you what you typed. I think if you press another button, it kind of overwrites it, so eventually that'll turn into a blob. But you get the idea that at least you can type something and the computer will respond and put it on the screen. So here's the 3rd button here, exit. So the program seems to be working, which is good. I wanted to check that out. Now there's a lot in here. Let's take a look at that. We clear a graphics window. We put in 3 buttons, 1, 2, and 3. Then we have our loop, which is the game completed equal false. So just goes around and around and around here. You'll see here outside of the loop, that's where we set completed to false. So when someone clicks a button, it goes to the subroutine game select. And when someone types in text, it goes into the subroutine text. So you might remember subroutines. There's a control block that has sub at the top and end sub at the bottom. It's called select. So when the button clicked equal something, it goes to game select. Here's game select. And we have 3 options. We have if we have button 1 is clicked, which is our blue, button 2 is clicked, that's yellow, button 3 clicked, that's going to be the program end. So what I'd like to do is to put in a game that we've made, I guess the number, or Ask Siri, for one of these buttons. So basically we need to know what the control block is that is for that button, and that control block is if and if. So if we want to add a game, we have to put it in between the if and end if. It's really important that we get that, because if we mess that up, this won't work. I've actually had to do this a couple of times just to make sure that I get it right. So I'm going to show you what I found out. Here is guess my number with cheat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all that text. To select, you could put the cursor in the top and use the shift down arrow. That's one way to get it. It won't go to the end, so what I'm going to do is use the right arrow to get all the way across the screen. And then what I can do is I could use the copy button up here to copy that into the buffer. So now let's go find our menu again. I've got 3 windows. There we go. That's menu. Game select button 1. So I'm inside the if and end if. I'm going to insert that. And now I have a game inside of a game. So when I run this, we'll start with the easy one first just to make sure everything's running. I think paddle game equal yellow. Nice. And then targeting, we'll have to change the name of that later. Targeting will start up our window here, and then we can type in a number. I'm going to assume it works. Well, actually, let's type 5. It says it's too low. Let's try 0. The answer is 10, so I'll type in 10, and there we go. So it tells me you got it, and then it brings me back to the blue screen. Remember, we pressed targeting, so that's blue, and it brings us back. Now we have this other window here, and if we close it, notice how we close the game. So there's an extra statement that we're going to have to add to this in order to make this work. Now be very careful when you add the statement, because once again, where you put it really counts. So we have our button 1, and button 1 goes from here to the end if. So the tricky part is, where is the end if that goes before button 2? Here's end if, here's button 2. So we want to put this inside that control block. So to turn off the window, I'm going to use text window hide, and that'll turn it off. So I'm going to run this. We'll use our cheat code to zip right out of this. So I go to targeting, and then I'm going to use 0 to get right to it. The number is 1, so I put that in, and now you notice that the number went away and I'm back to the menu. So that's really cool. Alright, so let's exit. We'll use the button there. Let's go get another program. How about Ask Siri? Once again, I use the shift and the arrow key from where I am. And luckily I was at the bottom of the text, so this time I get to highlight everything. That's going to be another problem that could happen, is if you don't highlight everything from the beginning of line 1 to the end of the last line of your program, then the program won't work. So you have to be really careful with that. So I copy it into the buffer, and I find my menu. Then I find button 2. Okay. Button 2, if button 2, and end if. So I have to be careful to insert lines inside this block, and then I need to use the insert key here. And I can use Control V. That's what I've been doing here, is Control V. And that puts it in that statement. And don't forget now that we also need to put in the text window hide. That way, when we're done, it will hide the window and show us the graphic window. And just to double check, there's my end if after the hide, and then it goes into button 3. So we've got that. Let's try this now. I'm going to run it. It's the first time I've run these two together, so I'm kind of concerned what's going to happen with the text window. We already did targeting. Let's try the new one. Paddle game, which turns it to yellow, I think. Ask Siri. Okay, is the sky blue? It says no, and I say goodbye. And look at that, it's out. So that worked. Very nice. Now, here's the thing I'm concerned about. Remember, I added the two programs together. So what happens when the two programs were written to work individually? Now when we put them together, it'll be interesting to see what happens. So I'm going to go to targeting. Ooh, I was expecting the lines to be merged. So thankfully that didn't happen. I thought the program would continue from where the last program left off, but I guess when you create a text window, it starts from a blank screen. So this is great. That means now that I can play the other game too. Too low. Let's go to 8. Too high, so it's between 5 and 8. 6. Yeah, I got it, and then it automatically brought me back. That was kind of quick, wasn't it? I had wanted to see the ending there, so maybe that's the bug I was looking for. Maybe we can do like a pause, like a text window pause. So I have to go to button 1. As long as you have the landmarks, you won't get lost in all this code. And then here is where button 2 begins. And this must be the end if that encapsulates the whole game. So there are lots of end ifs, and that's why you need landmarks. This is the end if before button 2. So it tells me that you got it, but then it disappeared. It went away too fast. It hid the window. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to see that. So I'm going to use text window, and then I can look at the options down here and I see pause. So I'm going to type pause. And that'll give me the opportunity to hit the pause key when I'm done. And then it'll go back. So let's try this again. We go to targeting. Here we go, between 1 and 10. Let's cut right to it. It's 3. So I cheated. Ah, look at that. See, it says you got it. And it gives me the chance to write or press any key. So I do that, and I'm back at the game. This is blue. That was the first one. So now I do yellow. It's a paddle game. My name is Siri. I'm just going to tell her goodbye. And then see, that one goes right back to it too. So that's as I suspected here, that I'm going to have to go in there and put a text window pause after that game too. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, here's button 3. It's the beginning of button 3, and here's the end if before the end of button 2. So here's my text window hide that hides the second game. And after goodbye then, I click the cursor in there and I say text window dot pause. And then that'll give me the chance to see before I get out of the game. I'll see the result. So here we go. Here's my main menu. I go to targeting. Let's go right to it. We'll cheat. Number is 1. Great. Okay, you got it. Press any key. It's nice. It tells me that. Lets me press a key to return to the menu. Then we'll try paddle game. We'll cut right to it and say goodbye. And it gives me a chance to press any key. I do that, and there we are. Now we have these two games in there. We've seen that when they interact together, we need to add other things like the text window pause, which before was done automatically. And we also had to hide the text window to come back. So we should also test the third option to see if there's anything that might have happened to this. I do exit, and thankfully nothing happened to it. So basically I wrote one game, guess number with cheat, and it worked. Then I wrote text ask Siri with exit, and that one worked. I had my menu program, which worked, and then I copied these things into the menu program, and now I have a third monster program that has everything. So this is my menu. I want to be careful not to overwrite that, because I might want to use it to build other bigger games. So I'm going to save this as, and I'm going to go up to the root here, go up another level. Here I've got House Party, because we're working on House Party. So I'm just going to put House Party 1. So there you go. There's the text. This might be too big to see on the screen, so I'll try and print that out for you so that way you can get the complete game.